get to the Express account here. Let's see if this stream is working. Looks like everything is up and ready to go. Got our levels here. Overnight low is set. Previous day high came in yesterday at 155. I mean, this is all wicks in that area. Realistically, this is going to be a zone, that previous day high zone. It's all going to be relative to that, basically that 236, 230, 240 to 236 level there. You get the overnight low here, and then previous day low all the way down to open yesterday. We have rallied completely up into that 277 level, as I mentioned, right? I've been mentioning it for a few days. If we do break through and push through 66, then 77 comes in and gets tagged. And what do you know? That first tag was right off that 77.50 level. So my numbers don't just come out of nowhere. They are not magic, but they are observed, and that's what happens every single time, right? Right to our level, a rejection, down to previous day high, reject that, rally up. Now we're into that overnight high here. We are opening kind of close to VWAP. I do need to see what kind of price action happens today. Do we break through that overnight high? What's that next overhead price target for me is 18,359.75. Realistically, do I think we can get there today? I don't know, personally. 359 does seem likely because it's not so far off, but there's a lot of congestion up into 331, so could get a rejection from 331. This would kind of cancel out any sort of move up into that 359 area. Would cancel out anything that happened prior to that Israel threatening retaliation event that kind of drove us downside from there. So we will see what happens today. We also have a number at 10, 9, 10, 9. 9 Central, 10 Eastern. We got Michigan consumer sentiment preliminary numbers. So some of this is going to give you some movement. Fed Bowman probably mentioned something about inflation. Nothing that's going to be changing our thesis on the day. Below 77.50, down below here, likely gives us some downside pressure, but we do see some bullflagging type stuff going on here. We are stair-stepping upwards, higher low, higher low, higher high, higher high. See if we can get into an expansionary top. Russell's creeping down, and S&P is doing the same thing relative to the NQ. So overall, kind of just wanting to be patient today, let things do what it's going to do, and then we'll react from there. Let me turn on something that'll make me feel good. Let's go with let's go with this here. It would help to turn the speaker on. That would help me. All right, Friday, be careful. Don't go crazy. Just trying to end your week on a high note, low note. Let your trades come to you. Fridays tend to be a little bit directional. I want to see what happens with the opening range. I want to see if we can develop that opening range and then break towards maybe down into that overnight low. If the opening range comes in and then breaks out over these highs, potentially, like I said, up into 359. 359. 359 up to 400 really is reasonable. But I do think we do have some overhead resistance, like I said, at the 330 level. So 330 So some sort of wick up into 330, reject failure of the overnight high would make a lot of sense to get us to rotate back down below this purple zone. But if we hold the purple zone and rotate, then potentially just straight to the overnight highs and below, I could look to play a breakdown of that overnight low based on this little trend line kind of forming here, this support area. More than this. My way. All right. So you'll watch that trend line, see if that cracks at all. Seems to be what's working lately. Nvidia's creeping up pre-market. Nvidia, Microsoft ticking down, but holding above 412. Apple up on highs at 184. Didn't really go anywhere after yesterday's close. Apple does have up, if it gets through this 184.95 level, probably up into 186. Probably the ultimate high for the day. And then downside, there is some potential for Apple to kind of flush through yesterday's 184.22 and continue down. Nvidia creeping up pre-market. I'm going to leave Nvidia up for myself. I believe that that's going to be the line in the sand there. So let's see what happens. We are about to open in a few seconds here. 8 seconds till we open here. Let this minute dance around some. Be mindful of that number at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock Eastern time. And we're open. See if we can catch an opportunity here. Like I said, this 77.50 level was very important. I sent it out in that chat there, but there's the reasoning for that level, right? I called out that rotation from low to high this week. We just ground our way there until today, pre-market, giving you that rip right into it. Hold it, try to hold it, fail to break out, come back into it, fail it again. I want to see what happens with this opening range minute. Could look to quickly short this if it does break down. Good morning, Zuka-san. How we doing? I'm looking to see if we can get this thing to tell us what to do. I just wanted to tell me what to do. All right. If you're in YouTube, don't be afraid to click the link that's in the chat in the bio of the description of the video of the live stream. That'll get you to tradecaster.com. It's where we do all of our conversating. All of the chat board is in there. Any sort of alerts, any sort of ideas come in through there. So that would be your best bet, is to be over there. It's a free trial for 7 days. And then once your free trial, what's up, Kramer? How we doing? Hopefully last night was good for you and it wasn't so hard. And once that free trial expires on that 7 days, you'll still be able to access my room. You just lose access to some of the paid rooms and some of the education stuff. So don't be afraid. It's not going to charge your card. It's not going to do anything like that. So don't be afraid to head over. Looking at Delta. Delta, nice little push there. Opening range high just broke. 75 level. I'm going to be watching that 77.50. But I really want to see what happens at the overnight high. A push into 330 isn't unreasonable. I just need to see what happens around that 330 level, right? If you look for a short idea through here with a stop up there, and if you can get down through that overnight low, that's what you're looking at as far as that idea is concerned. But 330 needs to come up and fail, do something like that before you do anything there. Frias, you in the room? You see that? So this little measuring stick thing on the left-hand side, if you wanted to just use it without clicking, you could just click Shift and then click on the chart. So you click Shift, and then you can measure out. Shift, click, and then just go. You don't have to hold the mouse down. Just click it once, and it lets you measure out, how many ticks, all that stuff. So I know you were asking me yesterday about that. That's on the Top Step X platform there. NVIDIA just dancing around, clicked right into that 906 even level pretty much. I wouldn't be surprised if today decides to just rally up. 359, 360 is that next level I have overhead. Something up there. 330 is my major resistance as far as top end consolidation level. We are a little tilty. I'm going to refresh this, give it a second. I just want to see if that fixes tilt at all. No, tilt's consistently at that 69%. Whoa. So that's a strong little push up there. We really have we caught this like consolidation, right? This wedgie type pattern here all through the last end of the day yesterday. It really didn't go anywhere until I moved the previous day high down. Previous day high was up. This was pretty much overnight high from the night before. It kind of just rocked into it. Or actually, the overnight high was over here. Where did I put that? Yeah, it was over here somewhere. And then it kind of flipped between the overnight high and the overnight low. So now we just wicked the overnight high. Let's see what happens when it comes to, is this going to be a breakout and push into that 360? Or are we going to come up into like that 330 area and fail and then rotate back down? That's my thought process on this as far as just trying to catch some of what's been going on this week. Although Friday is kind of seeming like it wants to be a blow off top type day. Delta pushing up congruent with price, so nothing to do there as far as divergence is concerned. No divergence. You do have Russell at the lows of its opening range, so that's indicative of heaviness in the Russell. Russell's been sort of leading us a little bit, so if the Russell starts to push downside, then you may get a little bit of follow on the NQs and the S&Ps to follow here. I set up to 330. 320 seems fine too. I don't want to take this first breakdown. I want to wait till we get another confirmed move, maybe to get my Delta helping, but Delta just immediately rejected that upper band of VWAP as well. Russell just broke the lows at 2088. I don't know what the I know it was either Zukasan or Yeezy was watching the YM yesterday, saying how the YM was pumping. I kind of don't want to pull it up right yet. Fuck it. I'm not looking for a trade here. Oh, what the hell happened there? I think I got rid of my chart. Can I get it back? All right, we're in a issue problem here. I don't remember how to get this. Okay, so we'll do that. And then we need a chart because we got rid of our charts. Sorry about this. And the way you look tonight. All right, so now we readjust this. My apologies on this. There we go. Gotta fix the screens a little bit here. I messed it up a bit. This shouldn't be like that. That's fine. Don't you ever change. Keep that precious. Actually, I don't want it to be here. There we go. Kind of messed up my little thing going on here, so just trying to fix it up for you so it looks a lot better. Tilt is gone now. Is that better? There we go. That's better. No. Okay. Not worried about setup currently. I want to see this dome. Good morning, Jofi. Money in London. You should just trade London all the time, and then avoid this choppy mess of a market. Is even more than everything. Okay, so I have my dome here. Bam. There we go. Much better. Alrighty, you got a special treat here. Call this a Spronic. It's espresso over seltzer, or depending on what you have. This is Topo Chico. Very nice little caffeination beverage there. I want you to be able to see the time in sales. All right, so let's see what happens here with this price at this area. I think we're starting to get a bit of that rejection. You do have that delta trying to do what it wants to do. I want to see if I can get a failure of this overnight high. Play our normal strategy here. I would like to see it give one more failure, but I do not hate taking the quick shot at it here because it's not giving you big follow through. And the tilt is on the longer end, so I wouldn't mind. I think I set it up so I have the bracket orders that automatically pop out. So I want to see if it works. And then I could just adjust them from there. So we will look to get short through this overnight high, try to rotate back down to 77.50, then see what happens at 77.50. We have Delta trying its best to not tick higher. Can you guys see this Delta? Yeah, it's on the bottom end of the screen. So you do see a little bit of a tick up. Price is not deciding yet currently what it wants to do. Looks like a break of the high, but Russell's still trying to break lows, so be careful. NVIDIA is still not breaking highs. I said up into 330 we have room for resistance, so there should be some happenings around this area here. We'll go with I don't want to do that. I'll do we'll watch this level here. Hey, whatever works for you, Jofi, as far as like if it makes you feel like you made some money overnight. And technically for you also, it's different a little bit than some of us here in the States, right? You're awake normally around the London time because it's regular time, right? And then now into the session, it's more like you're kind of winding down. You've already made your money. Now you can be a little more aggressive or not and just, make it work for you. But for me, to trade that London session, I'd have to work all night from 2 to 10, then come home, not sleep or take like a quick nap, and then be up for 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning for things to move around. Realistically, that session is no good for me, but I can understand why it definitely works well for you. Watch 30, see if it gives you a pop. If it's just going to be another Friday kind of continuation day, then it is what it is. But you can see we're starting to give that wedge type pattern, tightening up, also pushing up higher, right into that VWAP band. Value area high here is 325. So up above that VWAP band, right into that 30 level. Could give me that failure idea. And I don't know why I'm on the 5. Give me that 1, baby. YouTube probably doesn't like that I have the Frank Sinatra background, but I do. And if it helps calm me down a little bit, keeps me patient for this Friday. Yeah, I would agree with you, man. It's Friday. If you made some money, you've already got some stuff in your pocket for the weekend. Take the day. You don't have to sit here all day, right? Oh wow, 325. There was a 100 lot buyer. 123 lot that got filled, a full fill on 123. Yeah, that works, man. That works. In La La Land. I'm looking to just take probably one good execution right here and then hopefully be not stopped out till the end of the day and just continuously just roll it over all the way down to 172. That would be my favorite trade idea there. If I could get from through here down through that 277, a flush of 277 gives me that 172 idea on a Friday, just like follow through day. But at the same time, I don't think we're going to get that kind of follow through. We haven't been able to get it all week. It would be nice to get it, but I'm going to trail it out according to my normal rules, and we'll see what happens. Just going to see if the overnight high fails. If it fails, then we're good. If it doesn't, then we're out. A few ups a little close to the overnight high for me. But I think a crack of this 320 gives you the idea down here. That's at 300 level, so that's also another draw. So that's the only thing that could be cautious with stopping you in. You're starting to see the wick off highs here, right at value area high, rotating through this little wedge pattern down through 320. Down through 320 probably gets you down to 310. If 310 doesn't go, then the overnight high obviously will hold. But 310 probably acts as the magnet here from 320. And then it will make a decision from there either to pop or not. Russell still breaking lows. NVIDIA cracking through that 906 level. To the upside, it has to 915. We do have overhead resistance from yesterday's pre-market level and 2 days ago up into that 911 area. So NVIDIA does have a little bit more room to the upside if it does want to continue on. Microsoft. See you Monday, Jovi. A pleasure always. I know it was quick today, 15 minutes. All right, Microsoft running into 414 resistance as well. S&P trying to curl, not breaking, 5260. This 330 level is very interesting to me. If it cracks and breaks above 330, then like I said, 360 probably comes in today. 359.75. Always trade well, baby. Always trade well. Win or lose, trade well. Starting to get heavier. Still heavier on the tilt to the long side, 60% long. So that does give me the indication that we probably do get a little bit of more of a pullback, although there's some speed up in here. You got a couple decent amount of sellers overhead. I don't know if we'll get one more wick of 330, right? But I like this setup for that failure of that level. Then does it give me the confirmation through the overnight high or not? Wick 330. Delta's still pushing up though. I did notice last night, I was on the chart with the, just looking at it didn't execute on this, kind of tried it on a combine, didn't really work out well. Where was I at? It was down here. Delta was, I was looking actually short down here originally. Delta was pushing down hard, and then price popped up. So there was a little bit of a difference in the Delta on the overnight as far as indicating where it was going. So maybe a hard push higher with a good Delta candle and then a failure on the fade gives you that good confirmation of a wick off and then a rotation the other direction. So I'm going to be watching that as well as an indication. For a tough week, we're really just getting into a good mindset of still sticking to our strategy, still sticking to the levels that we normally play. Obviously, you've seen them play out time and time again. This week has just been a very tough weekend for Joe Fier, and anybody who's up on the week, good on you. I know there's a lot of really good traders out there that are negative on the week this week, so it's just one of those tough weeks to trade. If we can end today in a positive green type day, we'll be a very happy camper. If not, as long as we execute according to our plan, we'll still be in good shape to trade tomorrow and see where see what happens. All right. All right. Now this looks like it's getting a bit extended over 30. Holding on to 30, 72% long. As that gets up into like the 80s, I like the short at 30, to be honest. That's my, well, Russell's starting to curl upside a little. Microsoft's still hitting off on those highs of the day. Apple's selling off hard. That means Nvidia is pushing upside. That correlation is inverse correlation is perfect. 914. This is probably running into 915.82 for Nvidia. If that holds, then watch for the turn. Microsoft at highs since April 25th. So does have some room to the upside if it does want to go, but I don't know if it does quite yet. That 360 level looks like it wants to get tagged. So level to level looking like it wants to work. Could get that little bit of overhead resistance over here at kind of right where we're at as well. So just be mindful of that. It might not get all the way to 60, but that is that next important level for me. 59 really. The high of that previous swing that is important is 350. So 350 just missed getting up to 350. I still think if it does get through that 350, that 359 could get hit. If 330 gives up, then the rotation is possibly on to the bottom end of this. Could look to short that 330 level as an acceptance back into value, rotate back down into the bottom of that. But it's Friday, so could just continue on. Look for a break, a hold, and then see where it goes after the hold below that 330. Don't just take that first break. Could just be a wick off bottom and then run you up to that 60 level. Strangers in the night. Watch 330. If it breaks and holds, then that crack could lead to some selling. If it doesn't hold, if it's just a flush and a wick and a run back up, 360 probably is in the cards. So just be patient. Wait for it. What's up, Scrooge Max Bucks? How we doing? If this holds below 330, then you can have a short down at least probably to the overnight high. But if it just wicks it like it did and then pushes back up, 360 potentially, like I said, comes in and gets tagged. 350 to 360 is that zone for that next set of levels that I watch. 30 minutes. There's that crack below 30. Is it just a wick or is it going to actually follow through? Looks like it wants to go. So if it holds, watch the rotation to the overnight high. Microsoft, Nvidia gave up that at 14. 330 to 340 gives you 10 points. You know, it's kind of just up to you. See if this will hold below here. 50-50 on the tilt. Right to this high volume node here at 325. Grab some liquidity there. Is that enough to push it upside, or are we going to get a hold below this trendline crack? We did have a heavier delta. I haven't been playing these front runs, and they've been working out like perfectly, but I'm going to wait and see what happens here. Front runs of my levels personally, like where I want to get in, where I want to be involved. I drew up this arrow here prior, just saying to watch this level. Very nice. Not bad. Not bad at all. Enjoy your streaming adventure. It's a fun one. Nvidia's still selling. If anybody's interested in any of those options things or anything that Scrooge is talking about, head over to his room. He's a new streamer now over here. Sounds good. I mean, hey, take your time with it. It's no rush. I did not take the short here. Should have. Front run that 30 level. Yeah, it's whatever works for you, to be honest. There's so many different ways to trade the futures market. Or any market in general. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. I don't have any moving averages. I don't pay attention to the moving averages at all. It works for me, but I know how helpful they are in terms of crosses and whatnot. Yeah, always ways to get skinned. There's probably millions of ways to get skinned. The lack of follow through on that is interesting for the strength. Possible look for that another push back up. Try to get that delta divergence and then see if it comes back down and breaks us down after that. Maybe pop into that 40 level, give you a lower high, give you a delta divergence. Yep, that's it. Push into 40 would be nice, but if it's going to continue to hold lower, my idea here still stands through the overnight high failure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, teaching through delta I have to teach it as it's happening, right? What all cumulative delta is on this chart here, delta and cumulative delta, there's different inputs. I like the cumulative delta because it's just a running tally of market buyers and market sellers. It just shows who's trying to be in control right then and there, relative to price, right? It's just buyers and sellers on the bid and in the ask, and just seeing if there's strength coming into a level or if there's going to be a lack of buyers now pushing through that same level. It's very relative. That's how I use it. I'm sure there's other ways to use it, but for me, I just use it as a guide. The number of what it is doesn't matter to me. I don't care what this number is on the side. I think if we're relatively positive on the day, it pushes into the positive, order count. And if you're relatively negative, it's in the negatives. But for me, honestly, I just watch it as a divergence. As price starts to try and push up and delta tries to push down, to me, that indicates that sellers are trying to come in prior to a level. Yeah, pretty much. Flat, let's say like here. This is a flat delta to me, right? But it's also like price just is very indecisive. It's just doing stuff because there's orders to be had. It's not that there's a lot of volume or a lot of orders to be executed during this minute, right? This is a very flat delta here. Price action's flat. Price action's indecisive. So is delta, right? So that kind of also helps you stay in or out. Like, is this a low volume? Is this a directional environment? No, because price is flat, delta is flat. Once you start seeing direction, you start seeing direction in delta as well. This kind of front runs and or lags price action. So you got to just figure out what environment you're in at the time and then go from there, right? We're trying to make up into, if we can get above this value area high here, this 345 level, and delta stays around this lower end of this pullback, then you can consider the short, right? Like I said, if it wicks 340, then potentially the short through that 30 level now can be confirmed based on the sellers in the delta compared to the price action. I would like if Top Step had a cumulative delta so I could throw it on here somewhere and not have to flip back and forth, but I don't mind flipping back and forth because it's just kind of, it's not a rush for me to enter a trade. I'm not looking to rush into anything. Same thing relative. If this were to break through the lows and Delta were to just kind of linger up in the highs, that's to me telling me that there's not going to be a ton of follow through on the move, right? So I want to see follow through. That's why my timing is usually pretty spot on. My timing is usually better because I use the Delta to help me make the timing decision on, hey, is this likely to follow through or is this likely to fail, right? Sorry, it's cold in my office. Try to have my timing be better so I don't have to take very much heat. So you have Delta getting heavier. Here you can see it's starting to tick down more relative to price pushing upside, right? Price is trying to pop. Delta saying we're going to sell. So break of 330 now tells me that we're probably likely to give you a little bit more of a follow through on that move there than you would have to the upside. I don't have an anchor period. It resets at midnight every day. Whatever time frame I guess you're on. It doesn't go by session. Which platform are you on? It's all different on different platforms. So trading view. Let's see. Cumulative Delta. Let's see if I can add it on here. Cumulative Delta. So the problem with, so you can see how heavy it got through that level. I don't know which Delta to use on TradingView. Let me get back to you on the TradingView one because I don't have it on TradingView. I don't have it pulled up. I gotta find which one works best. I'm in and I'm out probably because that was crazy. I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to do that cumulative volume. There we go. We're pushing down now. Stop's going to be up here at this level. I wanted to take the flush at 330. Wasn't paying attention and got myself into the trade. The short probably going to wick me in, wick me out here. I would like this heaviness to continue. Might just risk up to 320. I got you. Looks like it wants to get heavy and continue here. Delta acting in our favor. You can see that Delta telling you follow through likely. Now it's popping off of that level, that 312, the 310, 308, that 300 level. I want to be tighter because I don't want to lose a shit ton of money on this trade. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. There's that VWAP tag. Hopefully we can get heavy and never look back. Woo, there we go. All right, see, fast moves, fast trails, right? In my world, fast moves, fast trails works. Let's get it short and in. So as you can see, Delta really does help you in this world of what I do. I want this to 77. I have to let VWAP do its job. The way this is getting heavy, I want it to get through 77. 901, we got that number released. That's what pushed us down. The consumer sentiment was 67. Should give us some more continuation down through 77. If it doesn't, then this is a wick off low and we're out. So it's just a matter of letting this thing dance around some. Let's get it to get heavy and we're out flat for 100. I would have probably liked to get tighter on that trail down to 290, but I just wasn't ready to be in that. So I didn't really execute great. The short was at 330, right? That was the short. I was mentioning it over and over and over again. I kind of got distracted by the cumulative delta. For some reason, it didn't tell me order filled or anything like that. So I'll take the $100. That's for sure. Take the $100 and move on. But you can see why, what I'm talking about with the cumulative delta and how it gives you really good timing, right? Huge for me. The one I use is on Quant Tower. The one that there is one on Tradovate. It's pretty much a standard entry. Russell is absolutely just melting, and that's going to help our downside move. If I could pop back up into that 320, 330 level, I'll short the overnight high again. on a more relaxed thought process. 289 down to VWAP, right onto VWAP for the real VWAP. On top, back on top in June, holding below VWAP here. Yeah, Scrooge, let me work on that this weekend. I want to see if I could find a good cumulative delta indicator on TradingView that'll help people, because I know a few other people were asking about it. I use Quant Tower for my futures stuff, my brokerage and everything, my personal brokerage and whatnot. So AMP futures broker, I use Quant Tower as the platform, and it has like just standard entries, and I usually just use the standard settings for that cumulative delta just because I like the way it works. If you want to anchor, I'm fairly certain that this just resets at midnight, so if you need a anchor period and a time frame, I trade on the 1 minute, so anchor period could be day session, if it gives you the option for session, or the 1 day, and then use the minute chart. Because like I said, that was the timing right there. Cost myself $800. This right here, that 330 down to VWAP and down into 72. I want to see a pop up to 30 or up into 20, up 20, 30, anywhere in that range. Like I said, then that relative VWAP, lack of follow through, right? VWAP, cumulative delta. You want that delta to pop up less than price pops up. Pawn and gonna hold that overnight high. Is that gonna be the thing? If you were short from 330, I hope you caught that, because the way I was talking through it, it was pretty much spot on, ready to flush, and we just didn't get I didn't enter because I was talking, but that's not a problem. I really would like to help figure stuff out for some people. So 330, and also I was talking about front running my level, right? That's really what it was, front running the level. Risking from 330 to 340 pretty much gives you no heat. I want to see this get back up. You took some paper cuts. Yeah, I got you. So you'd have to, especially with this, when you're up above my normal levels, overnight highs, previous day highs, overnight lows, and whatnot, you have to look for some serious confluence in a certain level for it to be a valid entry, right? Obviously, I may need to adjust a little bit in the coming weeks as far as the strategies, or maybe not in the coming weeks, in weeks that are like this one, right? I wrote up my my weekly write-up, and in that write-up, I mentioned how it's likely, I could pull it up, is likely to give you that lack of follow-through this week. There's going to be a ton of moves that don't push. We may grind to this 260, 277 level, and it's just a low data, low volume week, and I still caught myself in chop because I knew it was going to happen, and I fought that urge that it was going to happen. So could get this flush here at the overnight high again. Try and catch it one more time down through that overnight high. Although 300 acting as resistance is my caution here. Very tight to the VWAP. Still over the VWAP. Maybe we can get the ideal setup now, since VWAP is so tight, is if we pull up into 330 and the VWAP can get deeper. Well, now it's not. I hate this I gotta use this VWAP. This is the VWAP that I actually need to use. The Quant Tower one. For some reason, the Top Step X still needs to work on certain adjustments because it only goes off of what it sees and not what it actually is. So S&P's holding below their VWAP. NVIDIA trying to hold the 906 level. Tilt 55% long. Give me one more leg up. One more pop. So we got a high volume node here at 310, high volume node at 325. If we can pop into 325, potentially this gives us the opportunity for the short, but you can see Delta getting heavy again, so probably not going to give it to us. I'll sell one here. And I'm at even, so it's a free trade for me now. See if I can get this through 277. I've been taking shit trades this week, so I'm taking base hits. That's my thing. I'm going to take base hits today, catch my money and go, see what I can do here. If I can get this thing down a bit more before rotating out, we're stopped out. So 300 is pretty key. If you can hold your trades a little longer, do it. I think that overnight high rotation does come in. Realistically, up 130. So still up. Just trying to take my little base hits, little paper cut wins. And then you can get some follow through on a day like today. I feel like today has a little bit more volatility. We just got an economic release, right? Consumer sentiment was forecast at 78 and missed by a bunch, right? 67.4%, showing consumer confidence dipping quite a bit compared to the previous even two, down 10 points from that as well. So you could see the big dip in confidence. It's the lowest in 6 months and missed the mark of expectations of 76. Both current conditions and expectations declined. And inflation expectations increased. So the only thing I could think of is that potentially could end up being good news in a few minutes, because that will help price in rate cuts. Bad news is good news in this market sometimes. So the consumer confidence being down, inflation ticking up potentially in the future, that would cause us to stay higher for longer. However, this consumer confidence number being bad could lead to joblessness and people starting to not spend money, which is what they want with the higher rates. However, they do not want to increase inflation. So, it's a mixed bag of information, right? That's why you're not getting a ton of push right through it from that news. And if you do hold VWAP and fail to break down, then the rotation up to 77.50 does want to get tagged right now, though. I think that's really the ideal target for this to push to 77.50 right there. I think this gets hit pretty like a whip action right there. 77.50 is right here. So my dotted line is going to get touched. Could have just held that second entry, I should say, down to VWAP and then went to break even. But like I said, I'm trying to take my base hits right now. Looking to get in and out sort of fast. If the moves aren't going to happen quick, I'm not going to take them. We're building that buffer back, baby. Yesterday, we're one step in the right direction each day now. 77.50, looking like right here, this purple zone wants to get touched. The dotted line here wants to get filled. And you would have got filled right there, bang. 77.50 gets flushed. And now it's probably down to if that holds, down to that blue support line here. So that was a really nice trade if you took that 30 flush and held it and still held it. But that 77.50, if you are interested in that level at all, that's a pretty important level for me. I did mention that we probably don't close higher than 77.50 this week. If we do, it's interesting to me, but we'll see what happens here at this level and then what happens the rest of the day. Unfortunately, I didn't hold this last one. I took my little base hit on it, and it ran another 20, 30 points, and it's probably going to run the rest of the day to the downside. But watch this support level here. It's been pretty strong once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, bouncing off this level here. Yeah, wait for the next big move. Honestly, I think the big entry was this last one, this retest break. I don't know what kind of action we'll get off this support level here, but it is what it is. We called it out. If you caught it, you caught it. If you didn't, you didn't. It's all good. There's always next trade. NVIDIA looking to hit off down into pre-market, lower pre-market levels. So today we have taken 2 trades. Made 105 and 30. Beautiful thing about Top Step X, if you're into the Top Step X world, commissions are non-existent. The only fees there are just the basic $2 per round trip, $2 and change per round trip, $2.80 round trip, $1.40 each way. Not bad. For a full mini contract, you can't beat that commissions. There's really no downside to trading these prop firms except for like drawdown, but it really just teaches you to be managing your risk appropriately. I have no qualms with them. It's just a matter of actually making your money and keeping it. And that's the same for everybody in this game, right? If we do get back above 77.50, get into that VWAP area, get above into that zone, I would look to see if I can get another flush of the 77.50 just because Fridays tend to trend of late, right? They'll pick one direction, they'll go that way a little bit, and then the next bit they'll kind of push to the downside or upside, whatever way it wants to go, and then just keep going that way the rest of the day. And right now, we're in this trend line, but we're going to watch to see what happens down here, right? There's a lot of confluence in this area for it. So a pop above VWAP gives you into this trend line. If that trend line breaks and fails, then the breakdown of 77 could give you that next little move, and you could just take another base hit on it. Base hit, base hit. Well, this is like a double. I took a little base hit there. Coulda, woulda, shoulda is the name of the game, right? That's how you. Honestly, for me, in this period of drawdown that I created this week, I got tighter, and I think that's hurt a lot of my trades. And I really could realistically, over the last couple of days, have made back a lot of what I lost, but I've traded a bit tighter, and that's fine. I'm okay with trading a little bit tighter, limiting my downside risk. But by limiting my downside, I also limit my upside. So you just got to understand that because you're tightening up your losses, you're also going to tighten up some of your wins. So it's going to take a little while longer to get those winners to kind of play out. But that 77 level, bang. Didn't quite get up high enough over it for me to want to short. I wanted to get into that VWAP for it to come through here, but shorts are in, baby. Back into the opening range. S&P is looking to break through the bottom of their opening range, but holding nicely. We just cleared up this entire value area high to value area low, right? Point of controls right here at 289. Lots of confluence for it to pop back in. Heavy delta. The only other thing I think of is this overnight low possibly being the ultimate low of this session. And then you just dance around in between here and 77 for the rest of the day. Unless this cracks and breaks upside, then 60 is probably the ultimate high. So you just have to understand distances within the day. What number am I showing for delta? On my quant tower, my number is positive 470, 490, 480, 470. It's dancing around those high 400s. I don't pay attention to the number. I pay attention to the relative strength or weakness compared to the actual price action. So I don't know if you can see on my chart, the way it looks is above on the top. Up here, I have price. Down here, I have delta. This bit here is delta. I could even move it up higher for you, make it bigger. The bottom end is delta here. I look for divergences, right? I want to see lower lows. If this is going to, so this is trying to make a higher low here in price. Delta's still holding the lows down here. This to me tells me that another leg to the downside is more likely than a pop. Could a pop happen? Absolutely. And then the delta will just kind of follow through on it. This is a wick. That's a wick. Potentially look to see if this is going to start to curl, start to gain some strength up into VWAP. Then that'll keep you out of a short, right? But if it starts to push down while price pushes up, pushes up into that 289, 290 level, and this delta stays flat, starts to creep down, price still trying to creep up, that gives you the indication sellers are trying to step in at that level. Buyers are not coming in, right? And then as you start to see this get heavier, then the delta candle should just be continuing in the direction. It should not flip the other way to the buy side. And I think that's something you just learn by watching it. You have to just watch it and 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 watch it. 77 level. I was looking. I want to pop it. I don't want to just take the short here because I think it'll just linger. But it could just, like I said, continue downside all the way down into this 55 level. NVIDIA wicked this like pre-market support level at 897 and rotated right back up to 900. So NVIDIA relatively strong, but holding below 900 gives you that help to the downside as well. I think 900 on NVIDIA is that kind of line in the sand for positive and negative on the NQ. I would not be surprised. I know I said the overnight low for ultimate low of the day, but this purple zone could come in if we start to catch sellers on a Friday. After bidding up into a zone that I've mentioned probably was the ultimate high, that 277, we pushed up through all the way almost into the next zone, failed it, rotated back down. If you hold below 277, there is some support down, like I said, down at 49, but I think this overnight low could get tagged. If you crack this trend, this ultimate support line here, that hard break, then you might either see a rotation back up or you get a break and hold, and then you go. There's that flush. I should have took that 77 short right there based on the delta and the accumulation there. But I'm not taking that. That's the break of the opening range low. Everything is now breaking lows, so now you should get a push through there. I'm going to watch the overnight low for delta divergence on that end, see if I can catch a long off there. But so kind of just talking through exactly why the levels are reactive. Hopefully you're learning a little bit. I'm kind of being a little bit more cautious. Like I said, the week has been a bit of a choppy mess. So for me to be in the green on two pretty good executions, except for I just got myself out of this one a little too quickly, right? I saw it coming. I said if it gets up into there and fails at overnight high, I just was nervous about 300 and got myself out. And like I said, limiting my losses also limits my winners. So it's not like I'm expecting huge wins on days where when I'm playing tight, right? I'm playing tight, but I'm starting to see it really well. So that's a good thing. The levels are working ideally. So if you can capitalize on it and make some good money, you should be in the money pretty good. You know, like I said, I called the short out at 30 based on everything. Plus Delta gave you that final confirmation. I missed that entry because I don't have it set there for our, our levels are a little ways away. I ended up getting short at this level down to, made $100 on that. Saw the VWAP wick, got up over here, stopped out, got re-entered here, whipped myself out at 300, and then now we have completely poured down, right? I said 77.50 is that key level. Now we've broken new lows. We cracked this trend line. Lots of confluence to the downside to hold. There's not a ton of things telling you get out of the short, so you could continue to hold this short. You just broke through. I think 224 from yesterday was very important, so 224 could be an important level to the downside. Previous day high now tagged. What happens around this level now? 64% short. You start to see, if you get down to 224 and you see that tilt get into that 75, 80%, anticipate that to be your profit, where you start securing as much of your profit as possible. Start to slow down a lot. If that's how you're holding, right? I drew this arrow up here at, what time was that? 8:12, 8:13. No, I drew it up at open. So we'll say we drew it up there. I mean, you could go back and look and see when I drew this up. I said, look, watch this level. This is the level. That was it. See you next week. Zuka-san, always a pleasure. Glad you made some money there. 240 to 272. Nice little bounce. $272 to $240. That's a beautiful move right there. Previous day high holding. Recovering this downtrend line here. Could give you that bounce up into 77. But could also just continue down all day. It's a Friday, right? Russell selling. S&P is still holding up relatively. 247 there. $9.23. We're in here for about an hour now. Really nice move off that 30 level. You could have risked, if you wanted to high of the day. Really 30 to 40. You didn't have to risk more than 10 points there, because the way the trade idea works is with the delta, you could have waited for the timing of it, which I said you break down here, come back, retest that 40 level. Once you fail 30 the next time, that should give you the selling. Plus the news helped you out right there at 9 o'clock. News pushed you down. Now we're kind of just down into previous day highs. Could rotate through to overnight lows, and then I would look for a bounce at overnight lows potentially based on the week. You can see this trend line here, both of them kind of holding up. You want to play a quick pop. Delta has flattened out. Price is trying to creep up. Delta flattened again, so you probably get that next leg down. No bounce in Delta. No buyers coming in here. If you start to see Delta push through as we break through the trend line, then maybe that makes some sense that buyers will step in a little bit for just at least that crack up to VWAP or just 277. There's that Delta push. So you are starting to get more buyers creeping in right here at the trend line. Buyers trying to get involved. But there's a short seller somewhere in there holding this thing down just for the time being. Re-break through this level. Just continue to play this until it doesn't work. I mean, I don't see why that's a bad strategy either. For me, it's just not, right? That I'm trying to stick to my levels and then working from there. So I'm not going to play like the trend line, but it's likely that it's working, right? Happy Friday, everybody. I think we're doing a really good job today of seeing the market, getting good levels here, understanding trade execution levels. You could limit your risk on a lot of these moves and be able to catch little base hits here, little base hits there. If you're somebody that's scaling, these people, push in, pull back, add shorts, add another short until that doesn't work. That's how some of these bigger players do it. I am not in that game right now. I'm looking to just build myself back up from that losing streak that I developed over the last, it was only a 3 days losing streak. But, yesterday we had a small green. Today we're looking to go green again. Any questions, comments, concerns for a Friday here? Right now, nothing's telling you to get out of the short. I think it just continues on for the time being. Previous day high here could get wicked again, could lead to a flush down to the overnight low, which interests me. But then we do have that 32 level. And then, like I said, that 24 level is interesting for me as well. Heavy delta. Value area is expanding. Right, 245 here. Russell still heavy. Man, I'm the only thing not that I'm regretting it, because like I said, I'm keeping my risk tight during this drawdown period, and I just am not trading as loose as I normally do. If I was in a period of a winning streak, right, where I have built my buffer back up and everything is hunky-dory for this account, then maybe I front run this. I let that 30, I play this plan out. I let this thing kind of ride down into VWAP, probably take profits right around here, get stopped out around that area. If I enter this secondary entry through the overnight high, potentially, like I said, down into 77, I would have probably had my stop just over the purple zone. Never would have got stopped on that down into previous day highs. Looking at the way that price action is acting, you could use this trend line as your ultimate stop and then possibly never get stopped out. So I'm going to watch to see what happens at this previous day high. If we get a flush down to 224, could lead to that divergence on that, but it should still be heavy. It looks like 224 is going to get tagged right here. We got down just shy of 224. That's a heavy wick type bottom. Shorts getting heavier on the tilt. If 224 holds, you do have that ultimate VWAP band there too. So I'm going to watch this VWAP. We went from one standard deviation down to pretty much one standard deviation. So watch for the setup to come in for the long here at 224 to break through this trend line back to the high side, or not to the highs of the day, but just back maybe to VWAP. That's the kind of day it kind of seems like. But also at the same time, with Friday, this just cracked an ultimate layer of support. It cracked previous day high. It got into 224. We are now looking at a level that could be supportive, right? I try to set this up so you could see it. Like I said, 224. We just came just above it at 225. Should be able to wick 224. If we do, I'm going to watch the overnight low. Watch for a setup at the overnight low for a bounce play. If I get a bounce from 224, if I get through 224 and through the overnight low and finally kind of clean that up down to 200, the rotation back, I'll play up into that trend line and hopefully get the trend line break to push us back to VWAP. That would be kind of fighting the way this heaviness is going. All right, so there's 224, broke through 224. That was yesterday's pretty important level, right? Heavy delta still, so should give you a little follow through that 224. You do have that lower band of VWAP there, so possibly down into that 210 gives you a wick bottom. You see price speeding up here. It's getting a little heavier. Everything is starting to get sellers to pour in. We got 65% short, not super heavy on the short anymore, so potentially could continue down. Yeah, that was the move, Zuka-san. I did mention it. Like I said, from 77, that could have rolled down to overnight lows. Usually my rotation from overnight high to overnight low does come in if it's going to be a rotational. Unfortunately. This week I did not capitalize on some of those that I called out to the T. As I build back up, next week, try and let some of these moves actually play out the way I anticipated them to, right? Because I called out the short from here. Realistically, I probably would have taken it off there, but in and out on some of this position, right? I shorted through the overnight high again. If I would have caught most of this down to the low, you're still up a nice little $1,000 day. That's the kind of moves that I like to trade. I want to see one more push through that overnight low. Then I get my divergence, right? The overnight low crack. Right into this resistance again. I think we get another push. One more push down through 224, down through 215, which is that overnight low, into that VWAP area. Watch the delta divergence. Watch for it to pop that will be the time where I want to see the break down to maybe even to 200, right? 200 would be nice, a nice little round target. 300 to 200, that's a 100-point move. Can it continue further downside? Absolutely, it could. I want to see an exhaustion phase, a higher low, maybe, and then a pop through the overnight low. This confluence here gives me that thought process, right? Breakthrough here. Once through the overnight low, try to hold it, make another, maybe a higher low here. Then you crack through the overnight low, through this trend line, and that gives you that little bit of a pop thought process on that whole thing working out a little bit better. Overall, I think I've provided a lot of value here today with the levels, the movements, the idea of staying in or staying out for other people. I mean, for myself personally, I think reasonably speaking, I've done a good job of managing my risk after just getting myself into some trouble early this week. Realistically, I was looking off chart when I got triggered into my short through the overnight high. It worked out. That's fine. I'm cool with that move there. Probably could have secured a little bit more, maybe a $200 winner on it. I got out for 100 on it, which is fine because I expected to kind of flush even further, but it took its time on the flushes. The only other thing I managed a little too tight was this right here. I got wicked out at 300 when I could have easily been into 77. And then once I got to 77, because like I said, I think that once it got to here, I could have used that VWAP as the stop. Once you flush 77, get above the purple zone, maybe I would have got wicked out here at 77 no matter what. Probably would have got wicked out once I flushed here. I would have came to the bottom end of this purple zone. And I'm going to guess I got stopped out there. So really, I got in here and out at 77, right? So that cracker there down to 77. $500. So now you're starting to see a bit more in the delta, right? So this is where you start to see things slow down. We cleaned up the entire overnight except for a couple ticks. I want to see this get through 224 again, but you are seeing a little bit more in the delta earlier than you were before, right? So you're going to start to see this thing creep up more. Price probably runs into that resistance. If you can creep down in price and the delta stays higher, then you start to get that leg to the other end, right? This is where exhaustion would be likely for me, overnight low, but I want to see it wick the overnight low and then come back into here. I think this is still one leg too early for the long, if you're thinking long, or even if just staying in your short. I think you're still one leg too early to get out of your short. I think 200 could be a target, and like I said, down into this purple zone, that 170 level is 170, 250 is that next zone that I was interested in. Another reason I anticipated the short today is because all of this inventory was long overnight, and I don't think it likes to be long overnight or short overnight or anything like, the overnight levels. It doesn't like to do that pre-market, rally without giving a lot of it back, right? So where it is, I appreciate you, Taylor Trader. Thank you. I just try to keep it as simple as possible. I think everybody goes through this trading journey, right? If you can go to the beginning of mine and see, every little strategy that we always jump around. And that's the biggest detriment to traders, I think, is jumping from strategy to strategy to strategy and not giving themselves the opportunity to develop that strategy. Although also I think it's a benefit because you get to pick little pieces of each one and then create your own that works for your mental capacity and whatnot. So for me, I like this wick as a bottoming possible tail here through 16. I really wanted that to get through that overnight low. Didn't quite get there, but we are starting to get a higher low here in the S&Ps. Like I said, delta starting to creep. I mentioned I wanted to see one more leg down. We did get that one more leg down. So now the long idea potentially creeping into your head here, right? Previous day high probably holds. Like I said, I think probably you're safe for one more leg to the downside, possibly to 200, just based on the heaviness of price action. Friday's temperament tends to keep directional. I think this is just, like I said, one leg too early on the long. If you're looking that way, on the short, I'd say stops at previous day highs if you're willing to give that much back. But it's up to you. So really, like I said, trying to keep your strategy as simple as possible. If you have to go through the phases of where you're just trying all these different things and some things just don't feel right, if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't kind of fit your personality, then it's probably not going to work out. But the more you could cut things back, and make it as simple as possible, it really does help. And the strategy that I'm talking to you about here and that you see on a day-to-day basis, it may seem like super, super simple. If I were to start writing down exactly what it takes for me to get into a trade, I think it would be a pretty long-winded strategy. It's just very hard to do without visualization. But I'm very much a feel trader, right? I can feel when price wants to turn. I can feel it, but also at the same time, I'm using key structure levels. I'm using fundamental data, and I'm using just watching what price action is telling me, right? You could see delta here creeping up. This is what I mentioned, where you start to see the turn. You start to see more buyers start to step in. This is a cheaper price, right? We did get to the tick, basically, to that overnight low. I mean, we pretty much were at that support level. Really, it's probably right here at 22.53. The low is really there. I don't know why it snapped to that area, but that's that previous day low. But now you're starting to get really pop. Previous day high, does it hold or does it break and we start to rotate out of the range, right? That's what you want to look for. This kind of U bottom. I did think that was one leg too early there, and I could have sworn we were going to break through that overnight low. Didn't quite get there. It still has a chance to do that on a failed break of the previous day high. Continuation still short side, but I do not hate that was probably the bottom end of that move. With this wicking tail here. This wick right here tells me a different story than this one and that one, right? Just slightly different. The way that the price action started to curl up. Yeah, I try to keep it as simple as possible for everybody to be able to visualize what I'm doing, talk out everything that I'm looking at, what I'm thinking. I'm hoping that it helps. Like I said, Taylor Trader, I really appreciate the compliment. I love seeing like Zuka-san coming in and making his money today and calling it, and hopefully not over trading now, because this is what I want you to do, right? Especially on a Friday, you went red to green, and then you built off that green and you made a little bit more green. If you feel like you're going to start forcing in things or you're going to start seeing things in the market, just on a Friday, shut it down. Go away. Don't stay on the stream. I love you here. It's great to have you on. Go for a walk. Go do something else if you have to, because that's when you start to see more, and then you kind of get yourself into some trouble on a Friday, right? I mean, every day I think you could be like that for the most part. I only normally trade 8:30 in the morning till 11 Central, and I'm able to build up. Like April, I made $4,000 on the stream live. You've seen it. May, we're down about 2, so, or maybe a little bit more than 2. And after today, including today, we're probably down 2. So it's just a matter of consistency, building it in there. But you can see how it works. You don't have to trade all day, right? You can build up, a couple $100 a day here and there. It does add up long term. So don't try and do too much in one single session. Let's change the tunes up a little bit. Let's get ourselves in the mood here. What do we want to hear? We want to go with a little bit of work jazz. What's that? All right, it's more like my coffee shop theme. Speaking of coffee shop themes, If you're interested in coffee and you don't want to leave your house, or if you just like really good coffee that's targeted to day traders, head over to daytradingcoffeecode.com and use code Policing Pips for 15% off every order all the time, because it's our company here. We do freshly roast coffee on order, delivered right to your door. Usually gets to you within a few days. Our roaster is on point. He does great work. We have 10 different roasts, so something to fit everybody's needs, from super dark, like I like, to espressos, to decaf and half calves. We have a lot of single origin stuff, Ethiopia, Guatemalan, Colombian. So anything that really fits your needs, we have it in there. So just check it out. A lot of good shirts, mugs, drinkware, whatever you could want in there. I like to plug it out. What we do plan on doing, I actually signed an agreement this week with Lightspeed. So I'm going to present the Lightspeed partnership in a few days on the Instagram, on the website, in here. I trade futures, but I did trade for T3 as a professional broker. My Series 57, it's still valid until this October, I guess. So maybe I'll sign back on just to keep that thing going. But I did trade with Lightspeed. I love the platform. And long term, I do plan on donating 10% of profits from the coffee company to help fund underfunded traders. And I'm going to try and do that through Lightspeed. Trying to fund some cash accounts for people. We're going to run some specials with them. They're going to allow our customers to come in with a little bit less money, great commissions, discounted on the platform fees, all that fun stuff. So when I do get all the details on it and all the links and all that, I'll send it out so you guys can take a look. It's what Deck uses. It's what AK uses to execute a lot of really good executions. Some of the best short locates. So when Deck is talking about this shorting thing that he's doing, you want to try and get on Lightspeed. It's a really great broker. So like I said, I'm going to partner up with them through the Day Trading Coffee Company. And once I get all of the information that I can release, then I'm going to send it out. But like I said, the ultimate partnership with them is to try and start giving out cash accounts to people who really deserve it. So that's my thing. A lot of people out here trying to sell you courses, try to make money. Like I don't hate the courses. I think you can learn a lot. I've taken a few of them in my time in my trading journey, and I've learned a lot from those courses here and there. And a lot of those people do a really good job, but that space is filled. I don't need to do that. I could teach you on here. I could teach you in boot camp stuff. Yeah, we might charge for a little bit for boot camp here and there in the future, but right now we are looking to provide value in the form of something different, right? Some coffees. And then eventually, like I said, as profits start to grow, start to come in, we can put money into those accounts. I'm going to give back to the community that will provide to me based on my trading. So hopefully, long-winded pitch there for you to, the more coffee you buy, the more money that goes into that funding account. And if you're really able to prove yourself, as far as, I'm not going to be like a prop firm with challenges and stuff, but if you could really provide me some proof that shows me that you're ready and the only thing you need is cash, then that's what I want to do. I want to help people make their dreams reality. And then eventually we're going to open some physical locations and make them co-trading spaces as well as coffee shops. So I think that's a different niche as well for us down here. Host events, do all that fun stuff, in-person teaching. That'll be a difference compared to some of these online boot camps. You can see it in real life, learn from real people. It'll be fun. It's 9:46. We've been out at this now for a little over an hour. I do think we probably slow down a bit here on the price action. Maybe if we can dip below this overnight low, we are getting a higher low here. Delta confirming our higher low, right? We have a low here. We had the wick. Once we had this wick here, that's this Delta candle right there. You started to wick off that bottom. I mentioned if you start to see this creep up more, right? You only got one red, one green. That's going to tell you that you're going downside. Start to creep up in the Delta. That's confirming this move. You went right to opening range low, right? Opening range low is here. They left at the bottom. Now you're kind of pulling back. Price pulls back, creates that wick off bottom through value area low. You're starting to see Delta creep up some, but you are getting a lower high in price. Delta trying to help it out, trying to give it some pressure behind it, right? It's not giving up as much as price is giving up. So this is giving you that little bit of confidence to hold it. If you want to hold it, wait for that short to come in at a little higher point, or possibly the long comes in now with this higher low here and the higher low there. If you get a higher high, confirming that the turn is kind of coming in now, right? That's where what you want to look for as far as price action is concerned. When you start to get higher lows right here, higher lows, that's the kind of price action you want to see for a turn, right? You want to see that confirm on the other end with a higher high, right? That's giving you the thought process of, all right, if we crack 60, then potentially that crack to 60 leads you to 77, which leads you to overnight highs again. I did mention that I believe that 77 is the ultimate high for the week, 77.50. I called that, if you go through the write-up, I'll go to it so I can see it. Let me see here. I don't have it saved, like popped up. I just remember what I write. Basically what I do when I do the write-up, I do it for you guys, I do it for myself. So I write the week into my head, and then I just keep it there. If I need to reference it, then I reference it. But let me copy and paste what I wrote. As I mentioned, this week is a lower data week. As a result, do not expect large explosive moves. I believe that the levels will work. As always, just be aware that follow-through may... Let's show you here. This is the write-up. This is the last two paragraphs here of the write-up that I mentioned that I do every Sunday. After I get home from work, I try to do it for you guys. I don't know how clear it is on the stream. Just let me know if you could read it. If not, I'll just copy and paste it. Copy and paste. Here, this is what I wrote on Sunday night. And I'll read it out to you so you can hear it. As I mentioned, this week is a lower data week. As a result, do not expect large explosive moves. I believe that the levels will work as always, so just be aware that follow-through may take a bit more time than last week. Stick to the normal strategy and look for a withdrawal after this $200 day, which I did not get, so we're waiting on that. Levels to watch was 18,027.50 is where we opened for the week, which is, we gapped above it. That's the first. A break and hold above will have us up to 18,172.50, which break and hold happened right away. Monday that happened. And then a likely high side of 18,277 barring any news, right? That's what I mentioned. You can see it right there, 18,277 barring any news. That's where we're at right now, right? That's the level I'm talking about. Downside, we have 18,000, where that was when I was writing it. Below that, next downside level is 17.9 and down to 17.829.25. That would be the ultimate low if we started to trend lower. 17,650 could be our low of the week. Watch the levels, be patient, and always trade for tomorrow. Where are we right now? 277, ultimate high of the week. Yes, the NQ does push through levels more than the S&Ps does, but for the most part, 18,277, I say we close somewhere near here, possibly, and that's that. I'll post that in the YouTube chat as well. That's what I wrote up on Sunday night, if that's what you're... well, I can't do that. I can't type it on YouTube, but you can see it in there if you want to look at it. Pause the screen, refresh. So we are trying to make now a new low. So you got the lower high there. That's a different, and this is what I look for as far as rejections are concerned for our levels when we're trying to play reversal. So this is an interesting thing to happen here, right? Delta did not quite make new highs, but it did make higher highs than price did. So that's interesting to me. I think we start to wedge a little bit. If Delta gives up this bit, then potentially we rotate one more time. As I mentioned, I want to see if Delta will get through. If price will get through this overnight low, then maybe they'll give me that next little idea to go long. So a through overnight low, failed continuation, it'll kind of retest this trend line here. So down to probably into that 200 range, and then pop back above it gives me the idea for the confirmed long side move. Oh, it's heavy. Failed overnight high, previous day high. So that's another thing here, right? Are we going to stay outside of the previous day range, or are we going to re-accept into yesterday's range and keep it an inside close, right? This is what the daily looks like. You can see the last few days. This is the daily. This is what we're looking at here for as far as levels are concerned. We wicked up over that 277 and now looking to kind of push back down towards that 172. Staying within yesterday is pretty much inside day. You know, you wick that high. If we can close somewhere in this previous day session or lower end, I would watch for shorts coming in next week if we flush through that 172 level. So I would be interested in this being a wicking tail for another leg to the downside on the daily chart. I usually watch the 30-minute on this side just to give myself some more ideas. But that wick off high there, that 172 level does seem interesting to me for it to come into play. This, I want to just say, where's this? So watching 200, does Delta confirm? Yeah, absolutely. You can see that heaviness. We started to get higher lows, lower highs, and bang. Right? So I was talking about the short there, possibly failing that previous day high, which gave you that opportunity to continue the short down to 200. Now we're at that lower band again. Price is speeding up. You're going to start getting a lot of movement here, a lot of dancing, because another bit of decision making needs to come into play. So if we Russell just tagged the 2065, so that's a downside move. This purple zone I drew up early in the week for the S&Ps. I figured that was going to be a target at some point. Clearly it worked out, but it's still recovering some of this move. I think 172 probably comes in if we can hold below 200. I want to see something like this, but on the bottom end. That'll give me, so right here, this is that retest of this trend line, right? But that pushes us all the way down into 90. 72 looks likely here. So this price action, the way it's been heavy from that high end there at 30. I did say ultimate high probably 30s. We pushed into 40, failed it. Pushed into 40 again, failed it. That short from 30. If you're somebody that's just like a sell and go away type person off of a level, this is the ideal move that you'd be looking for, obviously. 172 downside target, 172.50. If we can get this type of price action here down below, then I would look to go long through the overnight low on a failed breakout, a failed breakdown. Give me one touch of it, a higher low, and then we go. That's what I look for. You see that nice wick bottom for the Delta, standard deviation of VWAP, acting as support, could give you that rotation. I want to see a touch of it, a failure, get down through 200 one more time, get some more shorts involved through 200, then take the long back through the overnight low, and then see if I can catch a little piece of that move there. If it just goes straight up through the overnight low, I'm okay with missing that move. I really would like the setup to come in. The more patient I am, the higher probability of my execution. I see a lot of size coming in at 210 here. A lot of larger size orders, 197, 198 to 200. All the way, bigger lot sizes, bigger contract sizes. All right, so we're coming up into the overnight low. I want to see a pop above it, a failure, and then another push down into below 200. If below 200 fails, that'll give me the confidence that the next touch of the overnight low gives me the break and the push. If it goes, like I said, just right away, then I'm not going to get in anyway, right? I want to see Delta, if price could push into that 200 high volume node, I want to see Delta do the same thing, make a lower high, higher low, and then go. I just can't enter through this right this second. I don't trust that move to be confirmed, especially with the heaviness of this market, right? We're heavy And Friday continuations, as I mentioned, seem to play out quite a bit. It's 9:57. I'm going to let the hourly candle close anyway. Let this 10 o'clock hour come in. We do have, let's see, that's not today. That's Thursday. For some reason, it's still showing Thursday stuff. Nothing really. Nothing. Goolsby speaking at 11:45. Hopefully everybody was able to make some money today. I'm kind of lingering around not executing this. I want the 200 level to get flushed one more time. Fail that flush. Get some heavy short heavy short tilt. And then delta to kind of just make a higher low. I want price to kind of confirm for me. Although I did say a break and a flush pop likely through overnight lows. So I just don't trust it yet. It's all about timing. It's all about timing. As I mentioned, if it just goes up and straight through, I don't have an entry. That's just not that's not how I'm able to to trade. I need to see a confirmation. Said something like this. This is a beautiful setup here, right? Wick, push up, fail, and then break down. Same deal here. Just flip this over, put it down here. Wick here. This is that first one, right? Second candle is this. So you push back down and hold below the overnight low. Creep a little bit into this area here, this 200, not as deep. And then you come back, try to retest it, and then crack it. That's what I want to see. Especially because it's not giving you a big volume pop right this second. It's also 10 o'clock. So if it 10 o'clock hits and it pops, it's okay. Not only is my coffee iced, but my ice is coffee. That's how you make sure you don't water down your iced coffee. Make yourself some ice cubes out of coffee, and then you'll never water down. There's the speeding up in price. You saw how price danced around there, did a little spin around dance there. I want to see if that's going to lead to heavier selling, or if that's going to lead to a wick to 200, get shorts involved, and then rotate us back up. I'm going to guess heaviness comes in here. We are in a, or if it, whichever direction it breaks out of this between 13 and 24, you get a decent pop out of it. There's a high volume node here at 220. Potentially that's the pop area, but you see delta not ticking up the way it should. There it goes. It's starting to push up some. You're getting heavy pop. 24, and there's probably the push up through it. 224. Once again, that interesting level that's been interesting since yesterday. And maybe before yesterday, but that's something that I was interested in all day. It danced around this level a lot, so I would be cautious around it to be more of a manipulation level than it is a confirmed break or not, right? This is a level where price just kind of wants to get executed, but also it'll accumulate here for a bit. Russell hit off on the lows at 20.65.7, and it's just holding that really firm. The way this price action happened here, for this to be the only push down and then a V recovery seems unlikely to me. It seems like it would like to push down again. But if it just, if it does push up, then like I said, I can't execute that move. It doesn't give me the full confidence in a trade. You're not getting like a heavy pop over that 24 either. And the overhead here at 230 as the value area low. The more orders that get executed down here will expand this value area as volume increases, right? If 75% of the volume starts to happen lower, this may adjust down to like here, value area, low value area, high, may expand a bit. Then if the point of control flips, I would be interested in seeing that point of control flipping, saying that most executed orders are down here. A lot of times when the most executed orders are on a low or on a high, they want to go the other direction, right? Because they're filling up orders. So let's see if we get down to 200 or not. I want price to tell me what to do. And currently it's not telling me to do anything. Have about an hour left in the stream. I don't know if I'll stay active much longer as far as executions are concerned with this account. I want to end it. I kind of came into today saying that any green where I have like a decent trade idea, I will probably shut it down. This is just another good setup for me that I like to try and see if I can execute around. I'm not hammering into it until it completely sets itself up for me. And if it doesn't completely set up, then I don't take the trade, then it's fine. Then I can just kind of wait and see. Maybe I'll flip to a combine and see if I can make some money on a combine. But in my funded account, the way I've been trading this week to get myself, big lose on Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday, too big of losses. Then Wednesday, I shrunk my losses down to my max loss limit, under my max loss, daily loss limit for myself. I said, if I'm going to lose today, I'm cutting it, and I'm cutting it smaller, and I did that. So I took a step in the right direction on Wednesday, took a smaller loss. Then yesterday, I took a very small win, $35, put myself back on the winning side. Today, I'm up 130. Do I want to expand on my growth? Do I want to make more money today? Absolutely. But do I want to continue into the weekend with better momentum, looking into Monday, looking into next week, attempting to push myself back into the winning streak, back into the mindset of I can allow my winners to run a little bit more, let my setups play out better. I think that's a better mindset to be in going into the weekend, better than trying to force in something here that may work, may not. It's not a high probability setup for me, and then losing on it, then getting angry that I forced in something that wasn't my setup, then going into the weekend with another losing day that shouldn't have happened, right? I should have been able to maintain my capital, trade for tomorrow, trade the next day, and build this account back up like I know I can pretty easily, right? Like 1 or 2 good trading days puts this account back up in the buffer zone that I want to be in. Obviously, I'm still up on the account, over $1,000. You can see there with an $800 withdrawal. So really, we're up around the $2,000. We gave back about $2,000, like I said, this week for the month of May. So we're looking to just build back up slowly and steadily. And then once that buffer is back over 2,000, start to look to take money out, grow the account exponentially faster once I get over that $2,000 buffer again. So that's the plan, right? Just one day at a time, executing appropriately. I could have done that today, right? I could have easily held this down to 277. I called out short. I called this one here at 30. I took this one here I ended up taking this one. That's where I took my most money out. Took this short here, took a little base. It was more like a bunt single. And then we called about this one here, the short from 77. And then I'm talking about how this is starting to slow down, starting to get to a point where it's possibly choppy, possibly looking to turn around and make its way the other direction. So this bottom here interests me as far as a flush to rotate us back up. But I need another higher low below this overnight low in order to get me back above, to put me in a position where I want to execute the long idea. Otherwise, it's just really more of this is where it's going to slow down and be a consolidation zone before moving forward lower to the downside. I didn't see a pop happening right there. I said we're a little early on the full real pop move. If I take the next trade and it is according to my plan, right? If this price pushes down into 200, then pops above that overnight low and I take the long, and then if I get stopped on that, I can't be mad that I get stopped on that. I could go into the weekend saying, all right, I executed wholeheartedly 100% to my plan. That got me out. But if I were to just take a trade like this, where it was the first little touch of it, grind back upside, I would have been disappointed in that trade, right? But I need this to get below here. If it doesn't ever get below here, then I can't take the long. If it does, and you start to see the price action break through this level here, that'll give you that added confidence to take the pop, right? Get rid of this. The lower high needs to be below the overnight low, down into 200, because 200 is a magnet. I want to see that kind of run stops at 200, try and get people involved in shorts, flip a lot of the retail short at the lows, and then try and push us back over the overnight high, squeezing us over this downtrend, giving us at least the rotation from overnight high to previous day high, and then give us that full move to VWAP. And that's when I would like to see it happen fast. I don't want to see it kind of just grind around. But I have to also be told that Delta is going to do the same thing, right? If Delta remains up at these highs, maybe even over this previous swing high, price pushes down through here, Delta's telling me a different story, telling me that the buyers are stepping in as opposed to the sellers that are trying to trick you into getting short here, right? Stop runs, run below here, stop runs below 200, down it. You see there's a high volume node here at 199. So I think a stop run at 199 gives you that opportunity. But sellers could pour in through that low too. So that's why I wait for 200 and not just a tick here at overnight low. If it just ticks here and then goes, that's another reason for me to just kind of avoid it a little bit. But like I said, see Delta getting heavier, price rejecting. Delta still pushing down, price trying to reject the level. So it's still not the time for a pop, right? It's not time yet for it to break out. If it does and turns right here and goes, I'm out, right? I'm not in it. But I did think that 200 needs to get touched first. I think if you were like me and you just feel like, oh man, I need to get this entry, like it's really great. Like in the past, I would have been like, man, I'm going to hammer into this at the low. And then you get like a little bit of a pop, great, and then it rotates down and stops you out. Because understanding the dynamics of the market really helps keep you in or out of certain trades, right? Understand what price needs to do in order for it to go the direction that you want it to go in, right? If this wants to continue short and everybody's selling all the way down and you're running out of sellers here, price has to go up to seek more sellers. That's what this is, right? Price has to bounce a little to find more sellers at an area where there's probably stop losses. There's probably people looking to sell. And then you flush the low. You run out of it. You exhaust all of the sellers. There's just not enough people to sell to get this thing to continue downside. So what do? You pop it back up, and then you find more sellers in value. 75% of orders happen between this value area, right? So you can pop the price back up here, peak into value, fail value because people are trying to buy it here now so that you can sell to them. And now it's going to push back down into the overnight low where buyers stepped in on the overnight. There's the overnight low. So buyers came here to buy last night while we were not open, U.S. market, right? So that's why this area is so reactive. These areas are reactive because it is where price has been executed prior and did what it did on the overnight session, right? The reason they're reactive is because there were buyers here overnight. Are they still here? Maybe, maybe not, right? Is this a higher low? Is this the higher low you're looking for to break through this trend? It could be. I didn't get deep enough into the value area of 200 to flush it to get me interested in a long. I still didn't get to a point where I say long is right. I still think that short, you're still getting pops for people to get heavier into the sell side. So that's why I'm not quite ready to go hard on a long. it would probably have got me out of a short, right? This flush of this low. Then you get in here. Now the lack of ability to get through this overnight low, saying that those buyers are back. I don't know if I would have stayed in my short any much longer. If I was in a really long-term short, this is the area of interest where I look for my outs. But as a result of that, that's if the same mindset is if they're pulling back, where they're looking for outs here as well. That's what leads to the short squeeze. So you may think it's like stop hunts or liquidity grabs. It is a liquidity grab, but it's more where can I get buyers or where can I get sellers so I can fill my orders so I can make money. And somebody with thousands of contracts to be filled can't do what we do where you're filling 1 to 10 contracts, right? That doesn't do anything to the market, right? There's thousands of contracts being executed all over the place, and they need to be able to fill these big size orders, and they can't do it like we do, where you're in and out, market in and out. They need to get some liquidity zones. They need to get people selling to get buying, right? They need people to buy to get to selling. So that's the thought process behind it. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. If not, I just rambled on, keeping myself out of that trade. 10:14 a.m. here Central Time. Once again, a lack of a breakout from that. No volume on that pushed through this downward overhead resistance. So not the time to play the breakout yet. You can see low volume, didn't break. Low volume on the break, didn't go. You can see clearly this looks like a overhead resistance. It worked once, twice, 3 times. Now 4 times probably going to work. This is a place where people would likely buy. So there's also a place where they could get some more sells involved to push it down. It's all market dynamics. It's all, just how it works. And as I mentioned, that 224 level yesterday was very manipulative. Kind of got people chopped around that area. So I would be cautious around this 224 for it to be your area of like entry, because from 224, I think it can go either way. When it comes to previous day highs and previous day lows, it can go either way, but they're more reactive in certain capacities, right? That previous day high could break, and then you have people buying into it, like more people interested in buying into it. If there's a manipulative level, middle of a zone, not quite looking to do that, there's just complete indecision there, right? At 224, people think, oh, it could get short here, it could get long here, and then it just dances around. A ton of orders get executed, and the price doesn't go anywhere. When it comes to previous day highs, overnight lows, all these things, these are areas where people are very interested one side or the other. And if it goes in that direction, it usually will go to it, it'll grab some more liquidity to it, and then bounce, right? Same pretty much every single time. Here as well, flushed it, came back to it, now popping. So just be cautious around those like choppy areas. That's why I take the high probability areas. That's my idea with the levels. Coffee shop blues. It is Friday. Like I said, I kicked some people out already. If I told you to leave, if you didn't leave, that's on you. If you've made money today, keep it. Go for a walk. Go do something else. It's Friday. Go into the weekend with this. Go into the weekend with some monies. Go into the weekend feeling good about what you did today. Or, I know if you lost money, if you're down smaller, the way to feel good about today is not to revenge in and get down big. The best way to do this is to get in, do what you have to do, get out. On Friday, especially over every other day. Friday is a day that I feel like everybody has some people have a hard time. Some people do well on Fridays because they want to go into the weekend and they know what they want to do. They have a plan for the day and they execute it. If your plan is to just get back, get revenge, have FOMO, there's not a ton of opportunity left in this market for the day. Yes, there's power hour later, but from now until 2 o'clock Central Time, 3 o'clock Eastern, you're going to get probably what we got going on right here. I think you're going to have a lot of slow movements. We might get one more opportunity. Like I said, I want to see if 200 will flush. If 200 goes, I do like the long through the overnight low if 200 goes, right? Because that to me tells me that's an area where a bigger player who wants to get long could get shorts interested. So it could give you a nice little wick off, right? Just like we did here. I think you can get one more attempt at that, but maybe a higher low, right? Even if it doesn't get to 200, if it just gets on top of 200, people front running it or whatnot, then potentially I would look for it. Right now, you're just kind of building up here. Like I said, that 224, 230 level is just something that I would avoid trading around. You could see you're in between two significant levels on top of a trend line break. S&P's is a little heavier than the NQ, right? So the NQ could want to catch up. NVIDIA is still heavy below 900. As I mentioned earlier as well, with the Mag 7 names, especially NVIDIA being our leader pretty much through and through for this past year, I think NVIDIA's level to watch is 900 for bearishness and bullishness, right? So if NVIDIA is holding below 900, I think you're going to get a lack of follow through on anything to the upside. If NVIDIA starts to break above 9 or starts to come from lows and push into 9, then that bullishness starts to come into the futures market, right? But right now, NVIDIA holding below 9 at 898, sitting right on pre-market structure, kind of looking like it wants to get heavy, flush a little bit, break through. It could push this market down one more leg before it decides to get back towards that 900 level and rally into the weekend, right? Those are things you got to watch. This is a wedge pattern here. This probably leads to a little bit of a crack. Once, twice, 3 times failed breakout on this. No volume to the upside, so there's got to find volume somewhere. So down through this level probably leads you to our trade idea. So hopefully that could get us into that 200 level to pop us back over 213 to give us the true break of this downward trend line here. That's really what I would love to see. And as I mentioned, if it doesn't happen, we are not getting any FOMO. We're not going to just enter previous day high here for long just because I do think without the full liquidity pool being grabbed out, everything that's going to happen is going to happen more grinding. And I'm not looking for grinding moves. I'm looking for that powerful pop, move fast, go, right? Every one of these, that's what I look for. I called that 30 short. I'm sure somebody caught it, banked on it. I called the short from the overnight high right to 277. Easy take there. This short from 277 downside, that was ideal. And I mean, every one of those happened quickly, right? You can see the heaviness happen fast. The pops are grinding. You're grinding those pops. I moved that overnight, that previous day high. Grinding, heavy. Grinding, heavier. This is not moving, right? So it's heavier. You're flattening out. Your price action is diminishing. Your volume has been slowly diminishing. Going into lunch on a Friday with lower volume, you could expect some sort of move to kind of just pop out with a large order to come out of nowhere, but I would be cautious on any sort of follow through on that move. So if you do see it happen, expect the failure of it, or potentially just trail it and secure your money on it and go, right? So this is the kind of things thinking about it while you're in it. Just keep learning, keep understanding what happens to this market dynamics. As I mentioned, like I said, I drew up this arrow here, called out that 30 level. We talked about why that 30 level is going to be reactive. I didn't think we had enough juice to get to that 60 level today. I called the ultimate high of the week to be 277.50. Potentially we could close right around there in that area. If we close up there above 277, it kind of gives that bullishness for next week a little bit of a little more confidence in that. But if this kind of closes, if price closes anywhere here between 277 and 172, I think that next week we might open with a little bit of a gap down and then see if the selling comes in just a bit
before it gets bid back up. Nothing really telling us that it needs to go short. Also, into election season and beyond. Let's see what we have for next week as far as economic calendars are concerned. Fed speakers on Monday, PPI Tuesday. Powell speaks at 9. Somehow I became British there. Powell speaks at 9 on Tuesday next week. You got core inflation, retail sales on Wednesday. Thursday, we have building permits. And Friday, we got some more Fed speakers. So more data next week, better information than this week, more opportunity to get bigger moves, bigger follow through. Failed breakouts like we like to play will fail and actually move in our direction. And then actual breakouts that confirm will probably move and continue on in those directions with those types of information, right? Inflation numbers, Fed Powell speaking. He's the chairman. He's going to tell the market what it needs to do in order for it to find its new liquidity zone, to get moves to follow through. Expansion this week, as I said, ground up. Everything that I mentioned here in this write-up happened this week. Did I capitalize on it? No. I actually did not trust myself, and that's on me to just continue to trust myself on those write-ups every week. Every Sunday night I come home from work, try to get that out before midnight Central Time. So just look out for it. I'll always post it in the Tradecaster, and then in YouTube, that link will go into the description of the video, so you'll be able to get it. Like I said, overall, I think probably unlikely that we get our trade to come into play here today by the time I get off stream at 11 here. I appreciate everybody coming by this week. We have had a grinding week. I hope you kept your money. You have an account to trade for next week. Going into the weekend, building off your confidence. Just learning a little bit every day about why these markets do what they do. Just overall, come into every single week, every single day, trying to preserve what you have, and then look for the market to force your hand into getting into a trade. You don't have to trade. You can sit here all day and not click buttons if your setups don't arise, and that's going to keep your money safer for longer, right? If your money is not in the market, then it can't do anything, right? You still have to hit buttons to make money, but also to keep your money, you have to understand when's a good time and when's a bad time to stay out. I posted a YouTube video about that, a little quick short. I'll pop it in here if you want to watch it quick. It's just a quick little short that I made in order to give you just a little insight into that. I'll share it just for fun. Funsies, share that, copy, Tradecaster, throw that in here. Little fun little video there, quick little video to give you an interesting insight into when to sit on your hands, knowing when to sit on your hands, and understanding why that's important. It's just a quick little short, nothing that important, but it's a good video. I try to share out those things that I do, where I take some time to edit them up. I do want this 200 level to get tagged. I think the flush of this wedge here with a lack of follow through to the high side, the hold of previous day highs, gives us that next little leg to the downside. I bet you that the S&P wants to crack this 52.38 level. If it does, then the rotation of 52.38 down to 33s. 38 to 33s for the S&Ps. I don't know if you get that full follow through. I think you kind of just dance around it. But downside pop, downside base. The break of this gives you that one more leg down. Give me 2 seconds. It's 10:30. I want to see what happens with this price action. I'll be right back. right, still just nothing doing it. Right, like not a ton of volume. That break above there kind of gives you that the heaviness wants to come back in. Really don't trust that there's a long there yet. And as I mentioned, I think you kind of just chop around here. I mean, you might get a pop out of this little range. Is it going to be a like a very powerful move? Probably not. I mean, you can see how low the volume is. This is the last big volume push that you had was at 953. And I mean, the volume started to tick down 955, and then it just started to dwindle as we lingered up, right? So the big volume push to the downside was this last leg to the downside there. Obviously, it was increased the highest volume of the of all the pushes since the first. So that kind of tells you that that's the last little leg, possibly before you start to grind around. See, although this week was a down week for me, overall still executed the last few days according to my plan. Didn't really I did. So not that I let the previous trading sessions affect these trading sessions, but I managed my risk a bit tighter because I had to adjust my risk. So I'm still waiting for my plans, waiting for my setups, letting price tell me what to do before I make my executions, right? I might be a little tighter on risk and a little tighter on reward, but that's fine for me. I'll take those smaller losses and smaller wins, build up the account again, so then I can start to take the bigger wins and the bigger losses. And over time, that sort of capital management will allow you the ability to maintain it a little bit longer, right? Still holding that previous day high. It doesn't seem like it really wants to break through. You know, you're not, like I said, you're not getting an increased volume through that level. So if you do break down through the base of this candle, you probably rotate down. If you get a break and a hold over here, the grind may still come in. You grind all the way up to VWAP, all the way up to 77. A low volume grind is plausible, especially on a Friday. Not a ton going on. Like I said, low volume here. You are starting to get like the same amount of volume on every single bar here. Just diminishing. Nothing going. No follow through. I'm starting to see a nice little curl up in my profit curve, right? So that I hit that little losing streak. It shouldn't have been as deep as it was, but I played that revenge game this week and that didn't work out for me. So cleaning up my mentality, getting myself back to a point where I can get myself into the green for 2 straight days, build that winning streak, build back the confidence, come into next week with higher volatility, more news events, cleaner moves will get us the opportunities to push this account back into highs and take out a couple more payouts. Week to week, month to month, it's all about being green at the end of the year, right? We were green up 4,000 in April. We're down 2 this week, basically, which makes the month of May down 2. We're going to just start to grow it back up. Easy enough to lose it, easy enough to get it back as long as you stick to your plans, your strategy. I don't know what this is telling you right here, but it's telling me that there's no volume there. You had a bigger volume candle, it tried a little bit harder to get through there. Still nothing. The only thing it's probably telling me is that heaviness probably tries to come in. I don't recommend a short, but I do think the short is more likely than the long through the previous day high here. Kind of seems like we want to keep within this range I also think that 172 level is a draw, especially the way we popped up over 277 pre-market then today on the open, and then now fading back down. That 30-minute time frame tells me that there's more downside to this kind of building. And yesterday's that 24 up to 42, kind of right where we're at now. That heaviness does seem more likely. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge trendline break person. It is a thing. It works, right? The trendline breaks work. That is a thing. However, I don't feel like that's not my strategy. I use it as confluence. I use it as an interesting part of the dynamic. I watch for it for failures, right? If I want to see, if volume will break this level, is it at an actual level of support, or is it just kind of an area that is just ironically the same over and over and over again, right? If you get a failed volume break of that, then the failure of your levels are likely, right? So you're looking for what the price is telling you. And I use these levels as just to tell me a story. Tell yourself a story. Tell yourself what the price is telling you. Don't fall in love of what you're looking at, but also at the same time understand and have a thesis behind what you're looking at. Let's go 90s hip hop. We're going to finish our stream off here the last 30 minutes with some 90s to 2000s hip hop. We'll see what kind of hip hop actually plays here. DJ One Loop on YouTube. Shout out to DJ One Loop. This is garbage, okay? If you could go away for the day, go away. This is garbage. Don't trade it. Stay away from it. This provides you zero opportunity to limit your risk unless you're some sort of longer term player here that's trying to build into a big position size going into the weekend, which I don't know why you would be doing such a thing. This just to me just tells you this it's just nowhere. It's going nowhere. You got super low volume, super indecisive, right? Like I mentioned, that 224 to 42 is going to be an indecisive area. And all it's telling me is that it's going to grind for a longer period of time. And if it does get out of this little bit of a range before we get off the stream, then maybe we could execute where, if volume ticks up to the downside, then maybe we can tick up to the upside and get that last final move before we get off. But I don't think it's likely that I can get along through that overnight low before I get off stream. If we break this previous day high again and start to grind up and start to approach into that VWAP, I'll lock myself out and I won't even bother looking at the charts the rest of the day till Sunday when I come back on and see what happens. But there's that little bit of a heaviness. You can see volume starting to tick up more so than before, right? More orders are starting to get executed here. Very flight price action. Delta starting to get heavy. This 224 level acting reactive once. Came above it, held it. Hold. Wicked it. Heavy delta. Delta's not popping. Price likely to get through it. Use your information to your advantage. If you want to play a bounce play off of a level, make sure that your delta is not telling you that it wants to continue to go lower, right? If there's sellers pouring in here, there's not a big chance that the bounce is going to come in, especially on lower volume, right? And then as volume increases and you break your levels, then potentially it makes sense where you can actually get some movement to occur. So NVIDIA, like I said, does want to get lower, holding below, flushing from 900, giving you that more of a leg to the downside. The likelihood of this bouncing, if it gets to 200 and back to the overnight low, the likelihood of it bouncing and returning to VWAP is, I feel like, less likely now. I feel like if it gets to 200, it should probably go down to 172. because of the accumulation of all these orders here and the final break actually being to the downside, I would assume that we probably get a little bit deeper than 200. There's a higher volume. You can see the volume node popping, right? It's down here below. Now Delta gives you a wick. Price gives you a wick. The overnight low is very reactive. That's where people were buying prior. I just wanted it to be deeper of a retracement for me to, like I said, same thing here. It needed to get deeper than this for me to decide to get an entry because I don't think that the selling is done. And I don't want to be run over on my entry. Does it get through 224 and then rotate up to VWAP? Like I said, it still probably would grind and do that. But am I going to enter it? No, because that's just not what I'm looking for. I want a deeper pullback. I want to be able to say, okay, yeah, I grabbed all those orders, and if it's going to fail above here, then it's probably going to be a confirmed buy through there. Let's say I had a bigger buffer, right? Let's say my account balance was like 50 grand, and I'm only going to trade a single lot, 2 lots max, and I'm going to risk like a couple thousand on the trade. You can reasonably build into a position around overnight lows, risking to low of the day. If it fails the low of the day, then fine, you're out, right? But if you're building into that position to build a larger position to get out and up, you have more space to allow this to give that little bit of a flush. And then if you miss the trade, then you only, you miss a little piece of it, right? You could build in here, each touch you put a contract on, each touch once, twice. You're still risking to low of the day. You can get, you can dance with green. You can dance with red. You can do a little bit of that dance because you have a bigger buffer size. Smaller account size, you trade a little bit tighter, be smarter with your money, build that buffer up slowly but surely, and wait for the A+ opportunity. You can't build into zones. I mean, you can, but you really have to do it with micros, or you have to do it in a way that's going to be super, super precise, because you can't risk that $3,000. You can't even risk, I don't want to risk what I made today. So I don't even want to risk 130, 150 on the day. The only way I'm going to do that is if that 200 level flushes, gives me a hard wicking tail, Delta pops in my direction, and then I go for the long. But that 224, as I mentioned, is a manipulative area where people are willing to execute on both ends, and it's an indecisive zone where you should avoid that price action. I know Ray texted me yesterday, and he mentioned to me, he said, do you adjust levels or do you pick levels middle of the day and start to trade off of them? And I said, no, I don't trade off of them. I use them and I notate them, and I'll keep them for later. I want to notate that price reacts around these levels, and I'll use those levels as targets or as manipulation zones, right? Let's say I was looking for, if we were coming up into this level, I would use 224 as an upward manipulation zone if I was looking to take a failure of that next level, right? If I was looking for this setup here, if I was looking for that, but we were coming up over to this level, I would look for it there. However, I would look for it to be the high end of it, and I would be trading off of my level. I would just notate these levels, right? Because you can see 224 has been just manipulative. And then over here yesterday, it was sort of just a manipulative level, right? This was very manipulative. Price, used it a bunch, in and around it, came back to it, in and around it. You could have traded around it, but you have to be very precise and you have to understand what it's trying to do. I think that there's just a ton of volume here. It's an area where everybody wants to trade, and those are the areas that I don't really want to be involved in. If everybody wants to be involved at that area, I don't want to be involved at that area, because that's when you get the choppy price action. That's when you get price to do things that necessarily you don't want, right? I want to be right fast, right? So I want this kind of move. I want this kind of move. These are all 1 minute candles. I want these types of moves to be able to capitalize and limit my risk tight, right? If I was able to limit my risk there to $100 to make $800, that's the kind of reactiveness I want to see. This is a level I do watch a lot too, is that opening range, low and high. Those are levels that I can trade off of depending on the time of day. At this time of day, I won't. On the opening range, yeah, potentially if this level was near an area, a failure of that area gives me the confidence to take that breakdown. But the answer to the question is, if a price action makes levels during the day, do I trade those levels? No, because I think that those levels become too crowded, and I want to get away from crowding and get my opportunity to be correct when I get volume to pour in at the right time, right? So this should give you a little bit of a heaviness, although the delta kind of flattening, price is flattening, delta's trying to roll. If you can get through this low here, price should get through there. If we get to 200, I want to see what happens at 200, what kind of wick, what kind of delta. And then if we rotate back through that overnight low, then that's when I might interest myself in a long, because it's going to sweep some of these shorts, get people heavy short, thinking that they're going to get something out of that short from 200, which they could. They could potentially get down to 172, but I don't think longer term bigger players are looking at it that way. 172 is probably the low. So if we wick 200, the long above the overnight low comes for me. So there's a push into 200. I need to see if it's going to flush all the way down to 172, which it might, right? That the heaviness, the way this slow market happened here, the accumulation of all these orders, look at how heavy these sellers are now. I got a wick of it. I'll buy one above here if that happens. And that, to me, would be the failure of a 200 level. You got a heavier delta, but that's a really nice wick. It got people involved in shorts. Longs were able to get their buys now. They were able to accumulate more orders on a higher low. If it breaks and holds below 200, then the continuation down to 172 is more likely. Like I said, just based on this. If we crack this low of the day, I will cancel this order, lock myself out of the account, and be gone. And the stream will be done anyway, probably. But if we get this lower high, get this push up here, get a nice little delta contract here. Come on, delta, push with me. A breakout of that level gives me the confidence that should give me at least a rotation with some volume, with some pressure. You can see this is a high volume node. Last time we had a high volume node like that, price creeped back up. So the first volume candle came in, flushed it. Same deal here. There's a lower high though in the volume, pressure. So there still could be some more buyers, but that's a bigger volume candle. Does the 90s hip hop lead us to a pop into the value area, rotate back up, or are we going to push back down one more time? This is where I say I'm willing to execute. I'm willing to take my risk. I'm willing to do something here. And if I go into the weekend with this win or lose, I'm willing to do it because that's where I have my plan, right? If we keep this heaviness, if we hold below 200, NVIDIA's at a bounce point as well. So 892.23 to me is a bounce point for NVIDIA. So this is another reason why the bounce could come in here as well. If I can get heavier short tilt, I want to see if this will flush 2. If it flushes 2 again and holds, I'm going to cancel the order. If it holds, right? It's got to hold below. Look at that. Right to that level. Break out of it. Pull back. Retest the breakout. Does that give you the opportunity for the long? And anything that cancels out this heavy candle, this high volume candle, gives you the confidence that it's going to break with some volume because stops are going to be right here, right above 222. There's a heavier delta push to the high side, so that's starting to give us our confidence to hold 200. a hold of 200, a break back through that overnight low. That's where buyers were interested this pre-market. Are they going to get back interested here? Is this where they get more of the sellers involved to push them out and then max paying them long the rest of the day? I got 15 minutes left in the stream, so if this doesn't play out sort of quickly, I'm going to be out. But I talked out the idea prior to it happening, right? So I sat here, I waited for this A plus type setup to come into play. Delta's starting to help us out here, creeping up. Price is creeping up. All right, there we go. We're probably going to get triggered here. Does it trigger us in and go hard fast, or does it trigger us in and melt us off and we lose? That's what we have here. Do we get the squeeze above 22? If you get above 22, then this probably just squeezes up pretty fast because I think the stops are at 22. There you go. There's the pop. I'm going to get to even. So now it's a free trade for me. Let's see if we can get over 22. Over 22 should give us a squeeze up to previous day's highs. If we can get the previous day highs, then we could be able to get this thing going. But if that's just going to be a liquidity grab there, then so be it. This is a free trade for me, right? That kind of volume candle shouldn't break down again. If it does, then we're out. If we get and hold above this area here, get up into that, then I would like to try and tighten up my stop some. Secure myself $100 on the day. There we go. Secured another $100 on that trade. So I'm up 100. That 22 probably wicks us out again. And there we go. I'll take that every time. If you can give me $100 per trade every single time, we're up 226 on the day. Do I believe that this rotation kind of occurs now all the way up? Potentially. I kind of anticipated that 22 gives you a volume squeeze. Watch it, see what happens. I think realistically, a squeeze up to previous day highs. Now that you grab that liquidity from 200, this might rally the rest of the day. I am just out. I'm done. I locked myself out. I'm not FOMOing into this trade again. I'm not re-entering it. I think you could squeeze up further, but the lack of squeeze through this 22 immediately makes me secure that profit and go, right? I want to trail it to a point where if this breakdown volume candle doesn't break, if there's not stops right here, then this could be a liquidity grab for some further downside, but or a retest of the overnight low before it goes, right? To give you that reverse head and shoulders, but back up 226, ending the week off with a nice solid $200 winning day, giving ourselves the opportunity whenever we feel like it to take a withdrawal, right? I'm not going to do it because I want to build this buffer back over that $2,000 mark. So next week, this trade right here could have easily netted us $800,000. I think if you watch this, I'm going to watch it all the way till 11. I locked myself out. But this exact scenario, I mean, if you rewind the stream and you watch exactly what I said if we can't get through and hold 200, the squeeze above the overnight low is the right play. What happened? 200 didn't make new lows, higher low, delta divergence, delta popped in our favor. We pressured up right through our overnight low. The 224 level acted like a dick. That was my, thought process on, is 224 going to mess with us? Yes, it does, right? But it could wick up above it, could come around it. It's an area of interest. It's a target. Those are targets for me once things kind of play out. I keep those things in mind. But I think a squeeze happens up to VWAP. And that's just how I play it. If I'm a fast move, fast trail guy. With that kind of big push, I would expect the break of 22 to give me that further pressure, which it is giving me, but it just didn't give it to me immediately. I kind of wanted to see this to be a third big pressure candle here for it to give that follow through, to be right there at 22 and get stopped out. I'm fine with. I caught the move that I wanted to catch, secured myself $100. This week, I've been getting lack of follow-through, as I mentioned. Lack of follow-through on moves means secure your profits quickly because you're not going to get those big pushes, big follow-throughs. So for me, unfortunately, that probably cost me today, I would guess. But the rest of the week, I didn't listen to that. And on days where I could have took $100, $200 profit, I ended up taking big losses. And that's just not what we want to do here. I am very happy that this played out exactly the way I wanted it to, though. Probably even more likely that it follows through because you can understand the dynamics of price action and understand what they're trying to do around certain levels. If we stay choppy around this between the previous day high, overnight low, so be it, right? But I waited for exactly my setup, took the money that it offered me and got out. Took 10 points, basically, 9 points. All good. NVIDIA, I told you NVIDIA was going to bounce. What did I say? NVIDIA is going to bounce off this 892.23 level. Right here, confidence. Confluence equals confidence. That's going to be my new line. I like this. Confluence equals confidence. Oop. That's my new go-to now. I really I'm hoping that you guys caught that, and I hope somebody with a little bit more buffer is able to justify what happened here to kind of hold a little bit, see how far you can go. If you can go to break even and see how far you can take it, let it tell you when to get out. The 224 level though is a real dick, so be careful of the 224 level. This is how you end the week. I'm very happy with that. You know, taking 2 quick base hits, getting done with the day right before stream ends. It's a great way to go into the weekend for myself. You know, this is the first week where I really kind of overdid a couple of the losers, and maybe not even so much on execution wise, but just lack of follow through and the lack of ability to recognize it's not the time to trade. Even though I wrote it up, and you can see in the write up that I posted right here to pause and be more base hit oriented. Right? Today we were very base hit oriented. Took our $100. Now we're up. You know, took our $30, and we're up 226. Right? This push down. Waited for our delta. Waited for our volume. Waited for the failure of 200. Understanding that larger players need to get to other levels in order to take their positions the opposite direction. And now you got 65% long. I think kind of we may linger now, but I think realistically your low of the day, I don't want to call it prematurely, but the low of the day is probably in and or we just bounce around this zone up into and below VWAP. And the ultimate high of the week to close would be 277.50. So I don't know if we have enough juice in the tank to get through 277.50 this week to finish and close. If we do, you know, that's just a heavy squeeze that happens on a Friday afternoon. Watch that 360 as that final area of interest. So just give yourself the idea to limit your risk according to your plan. Take your heat the way you want to take it. Take your money and go into the weekend strong. We are done for the day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the week, learned a lot, and we'll roll into the weekend with the hip hop. Copyright infringement. Cheers to a weekend. As I mentioned, if you want some coffee, hit the link in the chat, hit the link in the bio in YouTube. Use my code PolicingPips for 15% off all of your orders. We got 10 different roasts from decaf all the way up to espresso, dark roast, single origin, Colombians, Guatemalans, Ethiopians, whatever you want, we got it every day. It's always freshly roasted on order, so you never have to worry about inventory that's been sitting on the shelf for months. Just get out there, enjoy your weekend, and let's get it next week. Come into the week with a good plan. Obviously, the plan this week was perfect. The execution was poor. Let's come in with a good plan and good executions, and we'll make some money next week. And as I said, also, I can withdraw at any time. I'm choosing not to. I want this to be over 2. I want to give myself that full ability to maximize my drawdown, daily drawdown limits for my personal limit of, I try to only limit myself to around that $500 loss a day, not maxing myself out. And if I withdraw any money from here, I'll only limit myself to 2 days because I'll only be taking like $200. I would limit myself to 2 days worth of buffer. I would like to limit myself. I would like to have like a week's worth of buffer because weeks like this week happen, right? Fully transparent as always, going into the weekend, ending the week. As I mentioned, I started the week shitty, right? I'm going to be totally honest with you. Everything's on stream. You can go back and watch the lack of follow through on all of my moves just didn't happen. I should have anticipated it. Comes from Sundays, right up from the way I described the week with the lack of events. You're just not going to get that full big push through your levels, right? You're not going to get these things. I talked about it. I posted it right there so you can see it. Tuesday was like the ultimate, like, wow, what am I doing? I lost more than I would have liked to have lost on the day. I locked myself out. Wednesday, I recognized the inability to see what was going on, and I locked myself out. I manually locked myself out prior to even getting close to my personal loss limit. I only locked myself at 300. My personal loss limit is 5. I'm sorry. I took 2 small losers. I said, no, we're not doing this anymore. Yesterday we came back. I said, I'm ending the day green no matter what. Took good executions. Ended up the day up $35. That $35 says, hey, all right, we're done. We went from those big losers. We got back into a rhythm, cutting our losers short. Took a little winner on Thursday, ended the week on Friday with a nice solid $200 winning day, a qualifying winning day, a day that allows us to pay ourselves no matter what we make the next bit of time that we trade next week sometime. If we hit off on a big winning day and we say, hey, we want to take out some of this, I can do that now that I've had my qualified winning days since my last withdrawal, right? So overall, we're doing a good job of getting this curve back the other direction. And we're going to look to see if we can really maximize our strategy next week, right? There was a couple weeks ago, I hit off every single day. I mean, I've been on a really good tune with the markets, and I've been seeing it really well. And based on what I just showed you here, it kind of just shows that exactly, like, we're seeing it. Everything I talked about pretty much is what went on today. Execution-wise, we were standoffish, right? We're just trying to limit ourselves to those AA plus setups, take our money and run when the time comes. Yes, we could have maximized this run to the downside. However, we just, we did what we needed to do to get ourselves green going into the weekend. And next week, we're going to look to just build off it, and get ourselves going. We have a total of 12 winning days of $200 or more. We're in that area now where we're going to build ourselves back up bigger and bigger and better. So stream's all done, ending the week green. I'll let you guys ride off into the sunset. I appreciate everybody stopping by, liking the videos. If you're ever on YouTube and feel like heading over to Tradecaster, head over to tradecaster.com, create a free account, and we have great conversation over there. The chat there always stays. You can always see anything I'm alerting, anything like that. And then you do get influence from some of the other streams as well, where they'll come in, stop by, and end their day with some conversation as well. So overall, I think we did a really good job this week to end the week. After having a really bad start to the week, we ended the week mentally strong with a good plan and better executions going into the weekend. So I kind of saw this coming last week to close the week. I started to feel the execution slipping a little bit. And that plus a little bit of shitty price action this week led to some down days. But today gets ourselves back on track. And let's see if we can build a nice winning streak now. Normally, we usually win about 3 to 5 plus days in a row of 200 plus. So we could do that next week and get ourselves into a nice little withdrawal. But until then, I'll see you all Monday. Look out for this post to come out Sunday night. I usually do my analysis. after work Sunday night. So I'll post it in the Tradecaster chat room in the alerts, and I'll also post it in the YouTube details. So you'll be able to get it the first stream on Monday. But until Monday morning, 8:30 Central Time, I will see you all. Deuces.